Hillary's gonna win?
God, I know. And this, you're saying this like, 2 days after this FBI thing again. But I got my Hillary supporter card in my wallet over there. I mean, look, I've been saying Hillary from the beginning. Okay, because look, I'm a pessimist. Okay, I mean, yeah, you look at every major poll and battleground polls, and she's got it. But
weren't you trolling for a while?
As a Hillary supporter?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's like better to have it collapse under Hillary, under years and years of Democrats.
Oh, acceleration. Now I just sound like a normal conservative. No, I don't really want Hillary to be president. Obviously, I don't want that. Would it be better, in a sense, to like rip the Band-Aid off of like hope and just be like, look, no one's coming to save you. Sure, there might be a Messiah, but he's not coming for us. So might as well get down to business and break this thing up. But you have to be pragmatic, right? It's like, well, but there's going to be real suffering, and people won't be able to, real human cost. Again, like, do you want to have a business? Do you want to raise a family? And it's like, and so I can see how people fall into these arguments. Like, it does matter who becomes president in these countries.
We were talking about earlier the symbolic victory if Trump does win, even if he just goes to the status quo and he does nothing different. I mean, just the validity of the people who support him in the essence of what he stands for will be alive.
Right-wing nationalism, right-wing ethno-nationalism, and devolution are these strong political forces that a lot of our friends can't get comfortable with. They don't understand that, like, look, you have to triangulate, and sometimes you got to ride a wave. These forces are the forces that are breaking up large power blocks right now that need to be broken up, that have to be broken up for there to be something like, the West 500 years from now. And the West matters. A simple kind of like, well, open borders, why can't I, why does it matter, Cody? Look, the West matters. Where you came from matters. The lineage of your political philosophy, it matters. These things aren't, done in vacuums. They're not just all incidental. They're all connected. And you have to you have to understand your roots as both a person and, in your social condition, like, in order to understand everything else. You can't just be a post-historical, ahistorical person that pretends it.
And it goes so much deeper than that too. Jordan Peterson was talking about how you're not 30 years old. You're 1.3 million years old. Your genetic lineage, your ancestors have died and fought wars over nothing just so your genetics can live on. And then you're like, no, I'd rather take baths and drink wine until I'm 50. I don't want any kids.
Let's get back to Amir and how right Amir was. He called me at one point saying, look, these London anarchists are all talking about how we have to join with Corbyn's Labour government, right? The shadow cabinet, right? Like, we have to join with Corbyn's Labour after Brexit because, like, why? Like, anarchists now supporting the European Union superstate, right? Against what? The perceived slight of British ethno-nationalism, just because, like, they're that triggered by the fact that, a people would want to break off from a super statist political bloc. So now the anarchists have to support a mega-state enterprise with, corrupt, incredible bureaucrats in Brussels and, incredible, the weird polarizations and reconfigurations of power. Like, I can confidently sit here as like a pronounced anarchist and say, like, you have to work with this movement of populism right now. You have to break up the West. You have to break up Europe. It is imperative that the European project fail and fail quickly at this point. We should hope that Austria gets a right-wing government. We should hope that Poland and Hungary and the Eastern Bloc, continue to separate and break these arrangements. Brexit was an incredible thing. Brexit matters. And Brexit is what gives me hope that even this country at some point will break up.
I was at a bar in Berlin at Jörg Platzer's bar, first Bitcoin brick and mortar, and these socialists were talking about how these old people who are going to be dead soon shouldn't even be allowed to vote. They're responsible for Brexit.
Yeah. Yeah, you saw so much of that. There's a great...
just the lack of respect and understanding for anything that's older than you. And I'm not talking about like a pandering to authority because they have 30 years on you. I'm talking about like the essence of something older than you.
I just love the doublethink because, of course, at the same time we rely on old voters to keep welfare capitalism and the welfare state going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The dude that was talking probably doesn't pay taxes, does he? He's not a homeowner. He doesn't have a bit like
transfer payments from old people. You know? So the doublethink is really amazing. I'd be fine with giving no one to vote, or only a small segment of people to vote. Fine, don't
only
give,
taxpayers at least.
Don't give old people to vote. Only give young millennial CEOs to vote. We'd be just as paused, but so what? I don't. The Brexit result speaks for itself. I hope that Trump is something like that, like an unwieldy, terrible vessel for kind of popular energy that just needs to be expressed right now. That wants and wills separation and distance and difference. Those are the things I believe in. Those are some of the things in my book. I believe in radical difference. I believe that things like the printed gun challenge that too. There's millions of people out there that want to have a gun, and very few governments want
Cody,
to let them have
only
one.
the right people should have guns, and only the right people should vote.
Actually, Molyneux's transformation, right, has been the most fascinating thing to watch.
Ooh, I don't think it's fascinating. I think he's a trender for views.
Well, fine,
right?
maybe.
He knows how cults operate, and he's replicated the model over and over and over, riding these waves.
That's fair. You know what, and you know him better than I do, but I'm just saying to have watched the changes in libertarian culture and the divisions over just the past 2 years. I mean, it tells you a lot about where people always were and their estimation of human nature, their estimation of the purpose of politics. I have hope in devolution. I have hope in the ultimate balkanization of all these great superstates. But instead, all I do every day is watch this incredible vertical consolidation of power. And that's what Hillary Clinton is. She is the mascot for a global consolidation of power in media, finance, politics, transnational, right? I mean, oh my God, how she takes the Arabs' money.
She stands for everything that stands today.
Literally, she is like the mascot of Disney, capitalism, and factory, Hollywood factory cinema, and just everything terrible, the hell that awaits us with, a new Star Wars movie every single year until we're dead, that's Hillary Clinton, and damn it all if that ain't winning, because a lot of people benefit in a lot of different ways. It's totally like Fukuyama strikes again, right? He was right. We don't care about ideology, and we didn't need Marxism and communism in the end. We just needed a kind of weak form of welfare capitalism that lets everybody be an activist for a day. It's like a spin on Warhol's stuff. You'll get your 15 minutes of activism and I feel good, I did my part, right? I put a new sign on the bathroom door, so, all right. That civilization is the civilization we're approaching. Oh my God, what a disaster.
I'm happy you brought up Molyneux. I have a theory about him.
Go for it.
So he has this UPB thing, right? Universally preferable behavior, which simplifies human behavior and morality into a very clean philosophy. It's very clean. This is how to be moral. And so Nietzsche said something about how all philosophers, they're not writing philosophy, they're writing their biography. And Stéphane Molyneux needs a very black and white set of moral principles and rules because he's a sociopath and he can't empathize or gauge emotional cues. So he wrote a philosophy for himself to follow accordingly.
That's funny. So he wrote real philosophy, for himself.
Well, he's just proving Nietzsche right.
It's funny you said that, because, my publisher was like, write a manifesto over and over and over.
I'm glad you didn't.
I'm like, that's not what philosophy is. Philosophy is writing he's writing a moral biography. And that's what I try to do. The actual arc in that book, although I want it to be open to, I want people to take away everything that they can personally from it. And those interpretations are deeply subjective, but I tried to paint what I thought was a moral trajectory, an evolving one. Where I began is not where I ended, and for reasons that are wholly disconnected, I moved to other phases of thinking about one consistent project. So where you begin with a project and where you think and what your motivations are, they will change, and the project will then, change you. Amir knows things about this, but yeah. So right, I'm not claiming, again, I never claimed to be a philosopher, okay, but I never wanted to just write a manifesto. Oh my God, there's only an infinite number. So, like this need for a privileged, consistent, internal system of,
Right. Well, what I mean by that is you'll be replacing one rhetoric with your own if you write a manifesto.
Oh, right. And also, it's like I forget the guy. He champion golfer. He tried to write he tried to finally write a book about how he became such a good golfer, and he tried to then take what was internal to him,
like extrapolate it to
a
model.
And when he created the model, he with that work he destroyed his ability to play golf. He was no longer good.
Literally, he couldn't play golf after that?
Yeah, he actually destroyed his ability to play golf. And so it's a comment on the artificializing of it all. What I gave you was what there was. There isn't some consistent for that 9 months even. There isn't some consistent rubric by which I understand the world, and by which anyone really truly understands the world, and it's just rigorously consistent, a philosophical model. And I comment on models. And, Baudrillard inspires so much of what I do that. So I leave some commentary in about models. It's important not to replace what our actual thinking is with these artificial models, or just illuminate the world that we think we see just in the light of mere models. And that's what to bring it back to Molyneux, to reduce human activity to a kind of trite or tired.
Well, and again, it's doing what you're arguing against. The socialists destroyed religion and replaced it with a worship for just a different entity.
Sure.
Once you create a sterile, perfected, systematic way of being, you contradict yourself in its essence because you replaced that.
There's this idea of there's the world as it is, and maybe it's radically unknowable. Of course, in a sense, it's radically unknowable, but there is a limitless depth and complexity to things. And this is something that libertarians at least get right. Even conservatism gets it right a little bit. Unintended consequences and the fact that the world behaves in such a compounded set of interlocking and complicated systems that you can't just change a few variables and think that you will, get the outputs that you've designed.
You can make a perfect model because there's a lack of information.
Right. The conceit of knowledge, I think, is old Hayek's. This is at least this type of humble estimation of the profundity of the world is a better way to go about carrying your life. Receiving what you can and interpreting what you can, and using language and using the world. Obviously, you have to live in the world, but you can't just think that you've got the interpretive key to existence. I mean, obviously, again, you have to be bold. You have to proceed in the world and stand for things. All right, I'm not trying to just obfuscate. Everyone always says I'm trying to obfuscate, but I try to appreciate with a kind of almost perverse reverence, almost like a religious sacredness, the complexity of the world as it is, of this kind of deeply, objectively masterful, unknowable power of the world as it is. And in fact, I suggest toward the end of the book that this is actually this project itself is more powered by that than anything that I did.
Yeah, maybe you can have virtue and you can have morality beyond the model of good and evil.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, oh God. Yeah, let's not open that door.
Okay, closing it.
Yeah.
Pick your poison, tell me what you doing. Everybody go respect the shooter, but the one in front of the gun lives forever.